This is the Raleigh Redux. Speed-pedelec, kind of a minimalist urban electric bike, but I love they've included some bottle cage bosses, some rear rack bosses, even some fender bosses. So you can really outfit this the way you want to. And they've upgraded the frame and sort of the wheels to make this capable at higher speeds. So you've got a 15mm through axle in the front. I think it's like a Maxwell where this quick release comes out and then you unscrew it from that end over there. Then a 142 by 12mm through axle in the rear. Easy to get those off, easy to put them back on too and just align it. A lot of stiffness. The bike itself rides really solid. Aluminum alloy, 6061, even the fork, this is rigid. So you don't get as much cushion and comfort, but you do get instant energy transfer as you pedal. And the motor is really, really smooth. You've got a 10-speed cog set in the rear, Shimano Dior, 11 to 32 teeth. I believe this is 48 up front. And I love that there's a chain guide, because when you're riding at high speed, potentially switching gears on the fly, going over some bumpy terrain without any suspension, you don't want to drop that chain. So nice aluminum alloy bash guard. I did notice though that there's kind of this punched out pattern here. It looks cool, and maybe that helps save some weight. This bike is only like 48 pounds, so pretty light. I am on the smaller of the three sizes. There's like 17, 19, and 21. But anyway, my shoelace got caught in one of these little circles right here. You can see it got bent. I was like, oh my gosh. So I tightened up my shoelaces, and that was just random. You know, that kind of thing doesn't happen all the time. I like having a chain guide, but just be careful. And you can see that it actually goes below the motor. The Brose motor is really compact, very quiet. Situates the weight low and centered, along with the battery that's nicely integrated. It actually seats into the down tube. So I like all of that, but you definitely benefit from having kind of a bash guard characteristic with this guide being aluminum alloy. So if you do go off a curb or something and you kind of bump a hard object, it's not going to bend your teeth or mess up your chain because of that guard. FSA cranks, 170mm. Nice pedals. They look kind of generic, but they remind me of the Welgo aluminum alloy platform with pins. They're not adjustable pins or anything, but they blend into this all black frame. Same with the wires. You can see a lot of these are internally routed. We've got Shimano hydraulic disc brakes. These look like 3-finger levers to me. They still have adjustable reach. 180mm rotor up front. 160 in the rear. I don't think it's like the highest end Shimano hydraulic disc brakes, but they're certainly a big step up from mechanical. They work really well. The rotor size is good, in my opinion. They're just great. Raleigh branded grips. Got lockers on them so they won't twist off while you're riding. And then we've got the Shimano Dior triggers on the right, and I like that the little trigger can be pushed back like that or forward. So it's kind of a two-way action. Just gives you a little bit more freedom in how you shift. And then the stem. This is easy to overlook. At first I was like, is this like a -degree angle stem? And it almost looks flat, maybe a little bit negative, but it's this TranzX Antishock. And so it looks like there's a pivot point in there, and it might take a little bit of the vibration or some of those bigger hits out of the ride. And again, that's kind of important to me. This is 28-mile-per-hour capable electric bike, class 3. And one thing they've done to help reduce the jar from that speed is add these larger tires. So Schwalbe Big Ben, they're 27.5 by 2 inches. So a little bit fatter, a little bit thicker, more air in there, and just good surface contact. They do have the Active Line K-Guard as well, but they don't have reflective sidewalls. There are no lights integrated into this bike, and in fact no reflectors, because they just built this up for me as kind of a demo bike. Definitely keep the reflectors on at least, and consider adding some lights. This is just me being a safety nut, but it's an all black frame, and I mean, I love the way it blends in. It's super stealthy. Like, people aren't going to know this is an electric bike, I think, in a lot of cases, but you do want them to see you so they don't run you over. So anyway, coming back here, adjustable length kickstand. They actually had it a little bit too short, in my opinion, which was kind of a bummer, so I had to prop it up on these rocks here. 14 gauge spokes, going to be a little bit more flexible, painted black to match along with the rims. And then the Brose motor measures your wheel speed, pedal cadence, and pedal torque. And so it's one of those systems that's really fluid. It doesn't have shift sensing, but if you just ease off a little bit, maybe not put quite so much power into your pedal strokes, you're going to be able to shift without mashing those chains and cogs and the derailleur. And to me, that's kind of important because you want your bike to last. There's also sort of a set of gears in there. It is an internally geared motor, but there's like a transition point that's more of a strap, right? Like kind of a rubber or carbon strap. So it just takes out the feeling and the noise, like I keep referring to. So I really like that. We've got a decent touch point here, Selle Royale Shadow. You know, Selle Royale is an upgrade. It's not like super cushion gel saddle, but it's good for this kind of bike. You'll notice the narrow nose right here. Sorry, I'm in an alley and just trying to get like some different environments here. I felt like this is a cool urban environment, but you're getting the noise. Yeah, anyway, the saddle, it's active. It's not going to chafe like the inside of your legs as you pedal, but it's not going to take off just some of that abrasion I keep talking about. This is a TranzX Antishock seat post, and I don't know exactly what that means. It's like maybe there's some rubber in there. It's going to add a little bit of cushion. It's aluminum alloy. I've seen some other seat posts out there, like the Cobble Gobbler from Specialized. It's like a carbon fiber seat post, and it does the same thing. It's probably a little lighter than this. So you could always upgrade this to something else. 31.6 millimeter diameter. A lot of times I'm looking at body float for an application like this. There's springs, and you can choose different springs depending on how much you weigh and what kind of riding you do. They have a carbon fiber one, they have aluminum alloy ones, a little bit more expensive. You could go down from that and get yourself a Suntour NCX suspension seat post. Lots of options. And again, I have the details on the seat posts and the rest of this back at the website. I've only been given the small sized frame, so I did measure standover height and length and everything, but I can't help you with the details on the medium and the large. It is nice that they come with, you know, 3 frame sizes though, that you can pick one that actually fits you. I was talking to someone the other day on the forums, and they were like, yeah, you know, I ordered a bike and it's too tall for me, and I'm afraid to ride it because like I stand over and I doesn't feel comfortable, like I bump my leg. So keep that in mind. Especially with a bike like this. I love how classic it looks, and that you'd be able to hang this off the back of your car. It's just a little bit, you know, taller. It's a little bit taller. It's a more aggressive bike. Great for commuting, again, just blending in. And part of that is the display being removable. So you could ride this to work, take the display off, and then all of a sudden it just looks like that's a Garmin attachment point, and the rest of the bike is pretty decent. I love that they mounted the kickstand far back too, so that you can turn these crank arms. If you back a lot of bikes up, the crank arms kind of wind themselves backwards and collide occasionally. So they've done a good job with that. The display's pretty nice, but in addition to the readouts and stuff, there's a little USB port at the bottom. I believe it's about 5 volts. So I was talking about lights earlier. You could potentially plug one in and have a little light there, or use your phone, or, you know, some other sort of portable electronic device. There we go. I think it's clicked back on. You know, I want to show you the battery like off the bike because it is fairly unique. A lot of these Brose integrations are very custom. So it's like they have the motor, and the motor's just sort of buildable into the frame, and the manufacturer can choose how they want to mount it. I think the Raleigh's done a great job in this case. Just got a plastic protector. It's really compact. It blends in, and then the battery sits in from the top. You know, if you compare this to Bulls or even the Specialized Levo or some of the other bikes that use it, some of them come in from the bottom, and that's a little bit, I don't know, it's like you're pulling down, the weight of the battery's coming down with you. This battery capacity might be slightly smaller, so I think they were able to, that was part of the reason they were able to do it. Here we go, there we go. Twist it, and then pull the battery up like this. Careful not to hit the frame, cause any damage. Nice little bucket. Pretty thick walls on that on the side, and this is pretty deep. So 36 volt, 13.8 amp hours, 496 watt hours. So it's like just about a 500 watt hour pack. Should give you excellent range. The Brose system is really efficient that way. There's a power switch at the bottom, energy bus charging port on the top, and here's the charger. Kind of matches. They both have this black aluminum alloy casing going on, and then that magnetic interface, energy bus, Rosenberger standard. You take this little cover thing off, which is very easy to lose. Try not to set that down and forget where you left it. And then you can plug the battery right in. You can charge it off the bike, just like we're doing now, or you could charge it on the bike. And I really appreciate that 90-degree bend that they put, because otherwise it wouldn't fit. You might have noticed before, it was pretty tight, the top of the battery and that top tube. 1.9 pound charger, not the lightest in the world, but it is 2.5 amps versus 2 kind of being standard. There are some chargers out there that put out 4 amps, like Bosch. Their charger is a little bit faster, a little bit lighter, but maybe not quite as durable, just given the materials. I don't know, maybe this is plastic. First I thought it was aluminum, but it kind of sounds plasticky. Okay, so I think there's this, I'm just trying to be really careful. Oh boy. This little rubber piece here, I'm gonna try to push that down because it looks like it's, see how it's sliding up? That was getting caught before when I was seating the battery. There we go. I think we're good. Yeah, a little bit heavier. Okay, so we flip it around so the power button is at the bottom. Slide it in the channel. Oh boy. And then just kind of push down. There we go. Clicks in real nice. Very satisfying to hear that. And then the keys do not have to be left in. And in fact, I would be careful with them because see, they can they're right there where the crank arms are. You don't want to bend this or break it, especially if you have these keys connected to other keys on a little keychain. So I'm going to take those off. Here's the charging port again that I was talking about. See how you'd have to kind of snug the cable in there to get it to charge just right. Okay, and so we'd press that power button right there. And we come up, you see the display is actually on. I mean, that's it. So I guess there's that one step, but there's an on-off button at the top of the display too, this little rubber thing. And when you press that, it just turns off the backlighting. And it seems like as soon as you start to move the bike or pedal, the display comes back to life, right? So, you know, to me that's a little bit interesting. What if you're riding at night and you just want that to go black completely? I don't think you can. I think it's constantly backlit. It does look pretty good in the sun and in the dark. It's nice and big. You've got good readouts, speed, 10 little ticks on this battery infographic, and then down here we've got trip stats. And you can cycle through those with the menu button on the side or with this little circle button on the left button pad. So I'll do that. We'll go to trip distance, we've got odometer, we've got trip time, and then we've got like clock time. So, you know, several little options in there. There's that light button, and that would activate lights if they were integrated, but this bike doesn't have integrated lights. If you buy this from a shop, you know, you can work with them and they might be able to install some aftermarket lights for you, and that would be my preference, because then you don't have to worry about taking them off every time you park, charging them separately, forgetting to turn them off, all that kind of stuff. And speaking of that, like, I'm not sure, you know, does the bike just automatically time off? If I press the power button down there, this display turns off and it seems like the whole system's off. So I guess that's an important step to remember. It is a, you know, relatively smart bike and it's a little bit higher end, so I think it's gonna take care of itself that way. And then there's just the different levels of pedal assist. I'm in the highest one right now, Sport. I could arrow down to Tour, Cruise, or Off. And that's kind of cool. You know, you got those 3 different levels, very easy to understand. I was hoping to find like some sort of range estimate, but I just didn't see that. You know, like a lot of times with these fancier bikes, you can kind of dynamically sense how far you can go depending on the pedal assist level, but it just doesn't, I don't see that. Feel free to chime in if you know how that works or whatever. I've done my best to study this, but don't always have all the answers. Again, I really love the USB port. I love the removable display. The cockpit's pretty nice. It might be time to just hop on and go for a ride. I take it all the way up to sport mode. $20 miles per hour, 21, 22. Like, it's super easy to get going fast on this bike. You know, and it's so quiet. Like, it's near silent. I'm gonna do some gear shifting now. I was shifting without letting off. Just kind of shifting as I pedaled, as I normally would. And it didn't feel quite as clunky as maybe some of the TranzX drives or some of the other drive systems out there that also don't have shift sensing. I just think the Broza is a little bit more refined. Okay, you are super close to the motor. It might be a little bit louder in this position than it is in real life up high. Now that I'm down here, I want to point out that there's a slap guard, and then I see those little rubber bumpers on the battery that keep it from vibrating. Like, it is a really quiet bike, not just the motor, but the whole setup. Part of that's because there aren't any accessories or anything. This bike does retail for $31.99, and it comes with like a 2-year comprehensive warranty, and Raleighs tend to be available at a wide range of dealers and stuff. So back to the sizing, you should be able to find one and maybe give it a try before you have to, make a decision. It's amazing to me how quickly you can get up to 28. I was up to 29 miles per hour. Just the light weight on this bike is a big deal. I've tested some of the Stromer electric bikes. They're very similar feel, quiet, fast. This doesn't have regenerative braking, but it also doesn't have cogging, and it's just so much lighter. Like, it's a pretty good setup. Like, I'm definitely impressed. Stromer also has that like stiff, kind of jarring feel, but it's like a race car. You get into a Porsche or Ferrari or something, you feel the bumps because it's right there hugging the road. Even though I'd probably make some modifications comfort-wise on this e-bike, it's probably one of my favorites in the Raleigh line. Like, I love the Broza system. It's just smooth and fast, and I'm really becoming a fan of how light this bike is. It's easy to handle, but it feels stable. It hugs the road. I think there's little areas for improvement, perhaps, but maybe part of it's that I'm riding on the small. I think the medium will probably be good for me. I'm like 5'9", and I'm just kind of doing the math in my head. It's cool to have this smaller bike though, like really nimble. Yeah, I'm gonna do some more riding, give you some exposure to that speed again. Braking. Shift that down. There we go. A little bit of pedal drag there when I turned while pedaling. Well, this bike was a little bit on the small side for me, but I was able to raise that seat post and get it feeling pretty good. I enjoyed it for sure. I like how fast and smooth and quiet it is, but I definitely felt those bumps. Even the bumps in the parking lot, like the little grooves, it was like, just because the tires are inflated pretty high on this and you don't have the suspension stuff. So that's just me personally. Those are areas that I would think about and maybe upgrade. There are aftermarket stems that have the shock absorption built in. I suppose this one could be adjusted. I don't know a whole lot about it, but it is a neat part. And I love that they're trying with that seat post, but I would probably get something with a little bit more travel, a little bit more comfort. For the full write-up on this, it's the Raleigh Redux IE. I'll see you back at ElectricBikeReview.com. Again, I have all those specs and everything. Feel free to chime in. Otherwise, have fun out there, but especially with a black bike that goes fast. Be safe.